So the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, the Brisa, Perek Vav, says, Someone who learns Torah Lishma is merits to have all these things happen to them. So this idea of learning specifically Torah Lishma, the Gemara says in Tainus that if you learn Torah Lishma, Torah Nasan Lechas Hamchaim, Torah becomes a Torah of life. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says if you learn Torah Lishma, then you create peace. So there's something dafka, something very specific about learning about Torah Lishma. What does it mean to learn Torah Lishma? Torah for its sake, for her sake. What does that mean? So the simple definition of Torah Lishma is what Rashi writes. Rashi, and this is also quoted similar in Tosfos, in the Gemara in Brachos. The Gemara talks in Brachos and says, someone learns Torah Lishma, someone does mitzvahs Lishma, it's better if they weren't created. Says Rashi, what does it mean? So what does it mean Shaloi Loimid Lishma? It's Pirush She'ena Loimid Kedei L'Kayim, Ela L'Kanter. It means someone who doesn't learn Torah, not for the purpose of performing the mitzvah, just to be L'Kanter. L'Kanter is to be a show-off, to dismiss other people, to show that they're smarter than other people. This is Torah Shaloi Lishma. So the idea of Lishma, what does it mean Torah Lishma? Torah Lishma means for the purpose of Lilmoy L'Lamed Lishma Lasis, for learning, for understanding, and for actual practice. Lishma means L'Shem Ma'aseh Mitzvahs, for the purpose of the mitzvah. This is what the Alter Rebbe also writes in Hilchos Talmud Torah, in Perek Dal. A person should study Torah Shaloi Lishma because from Shaloi Lishma comes Lishma. So he says, what is Shaloi Lishma? Shaloi Lishma, that you're allowed to learn Torah, is Miyir Sa'oinish, L'Kabel Schar, B'Elam Haza, Amanashe Yechabed, Yikr Rebbe. But what is, like Tosfos brings down in Brachos Yud Zayin, but what is Shaloi Lishma? Literally Shaloi Lishma, that in that level you shouldn't learn Noyachal Adam Shaloi Nivra. Better not to learn Torah. So that Alter Rebbe says, Leil Mekayim, that means a person learns Torah not to Mekayim the mitzvah at all. And that's considered a Rasha. The Rasha Malus Chukai, that person's a Rasha, someone who learns Torah not to Mekayim the mitzvah, not to do the mitzvah, that's a person that shouldn't learn Torah at all. In the Baal Shem Tov's teaching in Tzivos HaRavash, in many places, it's brought down that what is Torah Lishma? That idea of Torah Lishma means for a person to medabek atzmai l'Kadosh Baruch Hu. That the reason for Torah Lishma is to ladafkaba, that a person should experience dveikus with Hashem. That's the kavanah. What is Torah Lishma? Torah Lishma is a level that you're learning to understand, because it makes sense and it's logical and you're having an understanding of the Torah. But the real Torah Lishma, really learning Torah for the sake of Torah, is to learn Torah Lishma for the sake of experiencing Dveikus and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, connection with Hashem. Since since the Torah and Hashem is one, like the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, Perek Hey, that Yichud Zeh, Yichud Niflu, and L'mayla Menu, that this is the highest level of Yichud, because you're literally grabbing the King himself, with your mind, your intellect is understanding the Torah is surrounding your mind. There's a complete Yichud between you and the Torah, and that's the highest level of Dveikus. And the Kavanah of learning is for Dveikus, is to feel the connection and to be Davok in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To create a Nachas Ruach for Hashem and to be Davok. That's the Kavanah Torah Lishma. So therefore, it's brought down in Tzivos HaRavash, and Mendel Vitebsk also makes a Kutam Morim. It's brought down by many of the early Chassidish Rabbis that when a person is learning Torah, and they're learning, they can be very involved in intellectual pursuit. They can be very engrossed in what they're learning. They have to pause once in a while, stop once in a while, and think, what is talking the intention of my learning? Why am I learning Torah? I'm learning Torah, I should be Dovok in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I should be connected to Hashem. So you stop, you're in the middle of a katsas, you're in the middle of learning something very deep, stop for a few moments, think about Hashem, think about Dveikus, and then you continue learning. And you have to pause. You should pause for a moment to think about Torah Lishma, for the sake of connecting with Hashem. So this goes back to a Gemara. The Gemara talks in Nedarim. The Gemara speaks about How come there's no children of Talmid Chacham that come out of Talmid Chacham? Why don't Talmid Chacham have children of Talmid Chacham? And then the Gemara talks about that they didn't make a bracha, a blessing before the bracha. Says the Ran, the Torah was not chashiv in their eyes. What does it mean that it was not chashiv? It was not special in their eyes. It doesn't mean that they didn't enjoy learning Torah. Means they didn't make a blessing. They weren't connected to the Noisan Torah. They didn't connect themselves to the Kedushas Torah. Like the Bach writes in Simon Zayin, when the Lulas of Hilchos Birchas Torah, that the person has to make a blessing for the Torah. What's the kavanah? What's the intention of making the Birchas Torah? That a person has to think that why am I learning Torah? What's the kavanah? What's the intention? Why am I learning Torah? The kavanah of why I'm learning Torah is to be Dovber in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the kavanah, the kedushas Torah, the sanctity of Torah. That's the kavanah of Torah Lishma. In the brachas, there's different types of brachas. There's different types of reasons that we make a bracha. There's berachas Eidah, and there's berachas HaMitzvahs. This is the way the Rambam defines it. There's different types of brachas. What is the berachas HaTorah? So the bracha of the Torah, when we make a bracha of Torah Tchilani, if you make a bracha, so the Gemara in Bavli and Yerushalmi bracha says that the reason is Kishem Hashem Ekra Havagadol Lekenu. That how do we know that we have to make a berachas Torah? That we have to make a bracha before we learn Torah. After we learn Torah is from berachas Hamazon. But how do we know that if we make a bracha before? It says Kishem Hashem Ekra, that I call in the name of Hashem Havagadol Lekenu. Therefore, I'm going to give godless to Hashem. So that's how we know that. So we have to make a birchas Torah before. This can be even minat Torah. That it could be a birchas Torah is minat Torah. What are we making a birchas Torah? Birchas Torah is not just a birchas hamitzvahs that allows us to learn Torah, like that allows us to put on tefillin. And it's not just only a hoidah, thanking Hashem for giving us a Torah, but it's a bracha on the etzem Torah, the blessing on the Torah. And therefore, even women have to make a bracha, because even women are connected to the essence of the Torah. So therefore, there's a bracha for the etzem of the Torah. What are we doing with a bracha of Torah? Kishem Hashem Ekra. We're saying that what is limit Torah? Limit Torah is Kishem Hashem Ekra. That we're calling the name of Hashem. So the Sefer Charedim wrote a pirush on the Yerushalmi in brachas. And he says that the reason why we say Kishem Hashem Ekra, what does Limud Torah have to do with Kishem Hashem Ekra? Because the Zohar in Parshas Yisro, and the Ramban also quotes this in the beginning of Akdamah Ramban, that the whole Torah is Shmoyser Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not only is it Shmoyser Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the Zohar says it's one Shem. The entire Torah is one name of Hashem. Like Rosh Molcha writes, that without the Matzapach, the final letters of the Aleph is actually from Bereshis till Ein Kol Yisrael be one name of Hashem. Kishem Hashem Ekra. So what are we doing when we're learning Torah? We're calling the name of Hashem. So we're trying to be Dovber in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what Torah Lishma is. This is what it means that we're learning Torah for the sense of sensing the name of Hashem, the presence of Hashem. Kishem Hashem Ekra. We're calling to the name of Hashem. We're calling to Hashem. Hashem is present with us, and we're having dveikus with Hashem when we're learning Torah. Now the question becomes, what happens if a person enjoys learning? Which means, besides that a person is thinking about dveikus, a person enjoys learning. Why? Because it's logical and it's rational, and they're using their mind, they're expanding their brain, they're expanding their understanding, and they're having gishmak in the understanding, the literal learning of the Torah, the gishmak in limud Torah. So you're having enjoyment of learning Torah. So the Agad Kala from the Din of Chayesar brings down B'Shem Abel Shem that since Hashem doesn't come with challenges against man that he cannot overcome, so therefore, if you happen to learn Torah and you happen to enjoy it, okay, so you enjoyed it. It's b'diavad. It happens if you just enjoy it. It's not Lishma, but since you're a bar sichli, you're the person that loves intelligence, and you love dvarim sichlim, and you happen to enjoy learning Torah, so it's okay. But the ikar limud Torah is nachas ruach l'makom. The ikar is to have to be Dovber in Hashem. But if it happens to be, it happens to be. And this is what the Degel Machan Ephraim Vayetze, the Marv Shem Vayishlach, and many other big tzaddikim of the Torah Sabal Shem write that the ikar is dveikus. And the truth is that this is also Lashon HaRishonim, because the Lashon HaRambam, when the Rambam talks about Torah Lishma and Hilchos Tshuva Perek, Halacha Hey, the Rambam writes, "Chol ha'osek b'lo loy liyira v'loy l'kabel schar If a person learns Torah not because of Ava, not because of Yira, not for a year, not because he's afraid, and not because he's nervous, or not because he wants to mekabel schar, but because of the love of Hashem. He learns Torah because of the love of Hashem. To be dovek in Hashem, that's considered Torah Lishma. So therefore, the main idea of Torah Lishma, apparently according to the Torah of Hashem, is not to have a na from the seichel of Torah, but to have dveikus. Now, the Gemara in Nedarim, and Daf Samach Beis and Aleph, brings down that ois asay dvarim l'shem palam v'daber hem l'shmam. You should do mitzvahs l'shem for the purpose of the giver of the mitzvahs. V'daber behem l'shmam, and speak those words l'shmam. Rashi's version is not daber hem l'shmam. Rashi's version is v'daber hem l'shem shemayim. You should be medaber him for the purpose of l'shem shemayim. What's l'shem shemayim? L'shem shemayim is l'shem. Should take kol kavanas l'shemayim. Your whole purpose is l'shem shemayim. But the simple language, or the version that we have, which is also which is also the version soon of the Rosh, is v'daber bahem. Lishma. Bahem Lishma means in the feminine. We're not talking about Hashem. Rashi's version is that we're talking about Hashem. You should speak the words of Torah, Lishmam, L'shem Shemayim. L'shem Shemayim, for the purpose of heaven. So we're talking about God, we're talking about Hashem. So you're learning Torah to be Dovek in Hashem. And that's also the gear, so that's also the version of the Meiri. But the simple version of the Gemara is Daber Bahem, speak of them, Lishmam, which seems to suggest that Lishmam means for the Torah. The Torah is a feminine word. So lahem, for them, lishma, behem lishmam. And this is actually what the Rosh writes. Daberhem lishmam, which is the lishman, which he also not lishmam with a mem, but with a nun. Kol diburcha u'masecha b'divitor yi l'shem ha-Torah, not l'shem shemayim. Not l'shem shemayim. Not to be dovek in Hashem so much, but to be l'shem the Torah itself. Kedei leida ulahavin ulahoisiv lekach upilpul v'loy lekanta l'sgayis. The whole purpose of Torah Lishma is to learn Torah, to understand it well. Leida ulahavin ulahoisiv lekach upilpul. This is what the Rosh writes. So Lishma is lashon nekeva, and it refers to the Torah itself. To understand it. This is what the Nefesh HaChaim in Shar Daled speaks at great length about this topic. And apparently the Nefesh HaChaim is writing sort of a rebuttal to the Torah Chassidus, and saying that what it says in Torah Chassidus in the Baal Shem, that the idea of the Torah Lishmam is to be Dovek and Hashem, the truth is, and you have to be mafsik every once in a while. It says, no, that's not Torah Lishma. Torah Lishma means to understand it. Lahavin, in the language of the Rosh, is to really fully understand. What does it mean, Torah Lishma? You're not learning it to become a big person. You're not learning it to overcome other people and to be sure that you're smarter. You're not doing it for kavod. You're not doing it for schar. You're not doing it for to overcome oynish. You're doing it to really understand. You're having hana, enjoyment of the seichel HaTorah. This is what Torah Lishma is. Lahasig, and that's what the Nefesh HaChaim, Rav Chaim Volozhiner, also writes this in Ruach Chaim, on that Mishnah that says Alem Torah Lishma Zeichel Dvarim Harbe. So the Nefesh HaChaim writes Alem Torah Lishma Zeichel Iker Lishma L'Shem Avas HaTorah. And it says Al Yachshav Adam. A person should not think Lishma Kavanah L'Dveikus. You should not think that the purpose of the Torah Lishma is that for the purpose of getting Davik Tasha, but the purpose of Torah Lishma is actually to understand it well. Because it says if the purpose is dveikus, then you should be oisik and tilim. Then you should say tilim. Why should you learn Avon and Nezer or Ktsas or Chaim? You should or Toisvus. You should learn. You should connect yourself and say tilim, because you should say Shir v'Shishbachas Hashem, and that's how you have dveikus. And it says in the Medrash that David HaMelech asked that kol oisik b'tilim kol oisik b'negoyim v'nahalas, that a person should be zoichet to, when they say Shir v'Shishbachas oisik v'nahalas. He says, who said David tilim in the skabel? So therefore he says the Iker Torah Lishmam is l'shem Torah. That's l'shem Torah. L'shem Yidiyas HaTorah. That's it. This idea that's brought down in the Rosh, and then from the Nefesh HaChaim, is also brought down in Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah and Avos also. In Perik Beis Yudal, have a Shaka Luma Torah. So the Rabbeinu Yonah has a language, Shashtei, you have to enjoy it. And same thing also, Rav Minahar brings down, Rav Minahar was also a contemporary of the Meiri, wrote Shuvas the Meiri, also in France, writes in the Dovber Ches that you have to be Shashtei, Ikar Tzil Lefnei Emes, Lis Aneg Lehenes, V'Madlas Ameach, Levavi V'Sichlei, B'Kud Hashem Esam Chalev. The idea of Torah Lishma is that you have to enjoy it. You have to have anah. He says, mitzvahs lav lahenes nitnu. You're not supposed to enjoy mitzvahs, have anah. He says, that's after maisa mitzvahs. Mitzvahs of maisa. Mitzvah seichel of intelligence. Adrabah. The whole idea of the Torah is that you have to have a geschmack and understand it. And lisanig lisanes. The language is lishtasheyaba. That's what the Rabbeinu Yonah writes. Lishtasheyaba means to have shashuyim. What is shashuyim? Shashuyim means enjoyment, to relish. The word shashuyim is a double shin ayin. Shin ayin, shin ayin. That's what the word shashuyim is. Shah means to turn. Shashuim, double turning, means to turn for the sake of turning, which means that you're usually you turn a direction to go somewhere. Turning for the sake of turning is you're doing a movement for the sake of the movement itself. That's shashuim, that's enjoyment. You're relishing in the learning of Torah. So here we have these two opinions, which later is developed more clearly between the Tzivos HaRivash and Torah Baal Shem, and what the Rambam writes on one side. On the other hand, you have what the Rosh writes, and Rabbeinu Yonah writes, and Rav Minahar, and the Nefesh HaChaim. So what is it actually? What is really Torah Lishma? And not to be mafrid, and not to say that they're two separate, full, different systems. Let's try to understand, maybe there's some type of yichud, some understanding that we can understand them as one consistent understanding. Torah Lishma is L'Shem Dveikus, and Torah Lishma also means, part of the Dveikus is actually to have a geschmack, a relish in the learning of Torah. So the truth is that the Slonimer, the Yisrael Avodah, writes very strongly about Torah Lishma, defending the Torah of Baal Shem, that the Iker is Dveikus. But you have, for example, from the Avnei Nezer, which is one of the great Chassidish rabbis, the Sachetcher Rebbe, he was aided by the Mendel of Kotsk, the Kotzker, one of the great Goyim in Poland. The Avnei Nezer wrote a sefer called Engel Tal. It's a sefer that's written on the Lamatas Malachas, and in the Agdama of Engel Tal he writes that Adarabah, that you shouldn't think that Torah Lishma means you're learning L'Shem Dveikus and you're not having a Yishmak. He says Torah Lishma means that you're actually having a Yishmak in the learning of Torah. And the Engel Tal was the Sachetcher was a Chassidish Rebbe and knew the Torah of Baal Shem very well inside and out. And yet he writes that Torah Lishma is dafka to relish, to have an enjoyment, to understand something and say, wow, it's so interesting, it's so phenomenal, and I love to learn it. And that's Torah Lishma. So the Gishmak. So let's try to make some type of reconciliation between these two opinions. Be'erech, something like this. So on the one hand, you have Torah Lishma, L'Shem Dveikus. Torah Lishma means to connect with Hashem, to be Dovber. The other hand, you have Torah Lishma means for its own sake, L'havin, L'haskel, Shashei Abba, to enjoy it. So there's a Torah in the name of the Baal Shem that's brought down by Rav Malach in Chesla Avram at the end. He brings down, and this is the Torah that we find parallels to this in the Moranayim and other Chassidish Svarim, that the Torah has Tanta, it has Tam and Nekuda Tag Moisius. That in the letters of the Torah, there's the Oisius HaTorah, the actual letters of the Torah. Then there's the Tagi HaTorah, which is like the crowns of the Torah, which are also written in the Torah itself. Then there's Nekudas, the vowels of the Torah, which give it its meaning, and then there's the Talmud, the way it's sung. So in Tikkun Zohar, the Zohar talks a lot about the difference between the Oisius themselves and the Nekudas of the Torah. That Oisius, on their own, letters on their own, if you have letters on a page, and you don't have vowels, let's say if it's Hebrew, which you need vowels, if you don't have vowels, the letters on their own are expressing an idea. But if you don't have the vowels, you only have the guf, you only have the body. You actually don't have the nefesh, you don't have the ruach, you don't have the spirit of the words. Because in order to read the words, you have to know what the vowels are. The vowels allow you to say that this ches, samar daled, is chesed, not chused, not chised, not chesed. Whatever the word is, you have to have the vowels. So the vowels is the oir, is the nefesh, is the soul, is the life force that gives life into the letters themselves. So the letters themselves on some level are dead on their own. They have potential for life, but the life force of it is actually through its vowels. The oises themselves contains the potential of life. But where is the life itself? Where do you see the life of the words? The life of the words is in the nekudas, in the vowels. The vowels give it life. Now we have the vowels. We know how this word, what this word means. It gives it its meaning, its purpose, its life, its chayas. Where is this higher form of life is actually in its tamim. So for example, let's say you have 3 letters in a word. It says chesed. Let's say it says ani ish chesed. It says aleph nun yud ish aleph yud shin ches samach dal ani ish chesed. I'm a man of chesed. There's no vowels. Without the vowels, you can read it different ways. Of course, we know what this word means, so we put the vowels automatically. But the vowels enliven that word. Now, how do you sing that word? Is already a deeper way of reflecting what this word means. If a person of manifesting what this word means. If you say ani ish chesed, that could be a question mark. It says ani ish chesed, I'm a man of kindness, or ani ish chesed, am I a man of kindness? So the way you sing something actually is another form of the life, another form of the chayas. The Gemara says in Megillah, the Gemara says that Klal Yisrael Dafka, specifically when they had a certain nevuah, they wanted to know what the nevuah was. They went to Chulda Neviah. They went to a woman. Why did they go to Chulda Neviah? The Gemara says because Nashim Rachmani Yasem, because women are compassion. So the Avodah Zakodesh asks, so women are compassion. But Nevuah means that they're giving over, they're transmitting exactly what Hashem's will and what Hashem is revealing. So what does it help if the woman is compassionate or not? She's just the medium through which Hashem's words are being revealed. And the answer is because how do you language it? Yes, Hashem says these words, but do you say it as a question? Do you say it as a statement? Do you say it a little ironically? Do you say it sarcastically? That's already up to the Navi. So the Navi has the ability to sing it in their way. So the tam of something is actually the life force of these words. This is what the Chesed Avram brings down. So the tam, the sound, the song of the words is its chayas. This is the tam. The Mar 9 brings us down also with regards to actual food. In food itself, you have the essence of the food, the atzmis of the food, and then you have the tam of the food, the taste of the food. Where do you see more the chayas, the divine animating life force within the food? Not so much in the food itself, although it also has vitality and life. But just like in regular life, and outside of the food, you see more life in a tree than in a stone. You see more life in an animal than in a tree. You see more life in a human being than in an animal, because the more vital, the more movement, the more alive it is, the more you see the life force. So if tam, geschmack in the food, the relish in the food, the taste of the food is the life, is where you see the movement, where you see the vitality. So the Chernobyl writes, B'Shem Moshem, that where do you see the chayas alaki, the divine light animating force in food, is dafka in the tam. Dafka in the tam is actually specifically in the taste of the food, is where you experience more the chayas alaki, the divine animating force, because that's where you see the aliveness of the food. The food is bland. The Rabbin of Pishcha once said that if you eat bland food, you gain more weight. It's a very obscure statement, but what he's trying to say is that when you eat food that doesn't have chayas, you're eating dead weight. So you don't have that relish, you don't have the chayas. The chayas actually lifts you. The chayas is not so tangible, so physical and present. So what comes out from the Torah of Baal Shem is that the ikar chayas, the ikar life force, of where you specifically see the divine animating life force in things is actually in the geschmack of things, is actually in the tam. It could be the tam mikra, it can be the tam in actual food. And this is maybe a type of reconciliation between, or a type of understanding that the Baal Shem or the Rishonim like the Rambam and Rabbeinu Yonah are not saying two separate things. And certainly according to the Torah of Baal Shem. And that's what the Engel Tal is writing the Agnama. When a person has a geschmack in Torah, you can look at it two ways. I am having an intellectual understanding of this Gemara, of this Tosis, and I'm enjoying it, and it makes me feel good because I'm expanding my mind and I'm understanding it. I understand the question, I understand the answer, and the counter question, and I'm having this enjoyment, this intellectual enjoyment. Then you say, but in that enjoyment, that's the geschmack of learning. Where do you find Hashem's presence in the learning? If you want to have dveikus in learning itself, Dafka when you learn with a gishmak, that's specifically when you learn with relish and with an excitement and with understanding, and you feel the lightness and the light of the understanding that you're learning, that's specifically where you connect with Hashem. Where you have dveikus is dafka in the tam. And this is what maybe the Torah Baal Shem says, if you're going to learn Torah with the gishmak, and the gishmak is not because this intellectually understanding, but I feel like the richness of Hashem's understanding of the world is being revealed in this gishmak Tosfos, or this gishmak Rashi, and this gishmak Rashba. If I can see in the gishmak, in the tam of that, I can experience dveikus in intellectual pursuit. So it's not either dveikus, I have to stop, think about Hashem, then connect, or a gishmak and learn love and lahaskil, shashteya, but to enjoy the question, the answer, the counter answer, but to recognize that the question, the answer, and the counter answer, and the counter question is all part of the gishmak of the learning of the Torah, the enjoyment of the learning of Torah, and that's in the gishmak is dafka specifically where I connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we should zochet taket to the Torah Lishma always. And therefore the Gemara in Zvachim, in the beginning of Zvachim, talks about stam lishma. If you do something stam, you do something without intention, if that's already lishma. And the Gemara makes a difference between, for example, between zvachim and gerushin, between divorce and zvachim. And if you do zvachim, that a woman is not in a position of always standing in a place that she's going to be about to be divorced. So if you write stam a get, and without writing lishma, you have to write lishma. Because of law, you have to write after lishma by a get. And if you don't write lishma, it's not yoitz. But by zvachim, it's oimedus, it's taka oimedus. It's standing in the posture for ready for lishma. So what Chazal are telling us is when a person is baruch b'Torah tchila, and the baruch b'Torah tchila, like what the Bach brings l'shem arat, the baruch b'Torah tchila means that you're dovek in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the posture that you set yourself up onto. You say, this is the way I'm going to learn Torah now. I'm going to learn baruch b'Torah tchila. This is the way I'm going to start learning my Torah. So then that sets the foundation that even if for some reason you lose the dveikus and you're just so caught up in intellectual pursuit that you forget that you're learning the Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's the relish is coming from understanding the gorgeousness and the deliciousness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's seichel in the Torah, and you just end up just learning Torah stamazoi, you should know, since it's predicated on Baruch b'Torah tchila, stam lishma memedes. So since you started learning Torah, the main thing is that when we start learning Torah, we have to go into the entry, how we enter into learning Torah, with the Baruch b'Torah tchila, with the seriousness that Baruch Hashem noisen Torah, Hashem is a noisen Torah, not only past, but Hashem is giving us the Torah, that we're learning Torah, and Hashem is only connected, and that we're learning Torah, and Hashem is giving us the Torah right this very moment, and giving us the seichel Torah, and the understanding of the Torah, the intellectual pursuit of the Torah, and that's through the chayas that we receive through the Torah, and the geshmak that we have in Elikos.